nearly 65,000 families evacuated. 0% containment of these wildfires. Multiple dangerous fires are spreading across the Spokane area in Washington state. So far, officials say that more than 700 homes have been destroyed. And some of the images of the destruction that we're seeing, they're just tragedy. Watch this.
This is insane.
That is what families were seeing from the water as they were trying to escape. Let's get to CNN's Julia Vargas Jones. She's on the scene in Spokane this morning. What are you hearing there today?
Okay, it's not a regular Monday in Spokane. People are waking up to see just the extent of this tragedy. As you mentioned, 65,000 residences evacuated to places like this, to shelters where they're faced with that uncertainty of whether or not they will even have a home to return to. And some of them who have been able to go and see their properties completely destroyed, engulfed by the fire and just spit out as just almost charcoal. They had really interesting insight into whether or not they could even return and build a life in these areas. Again, take a listen.
I don't think I'm going to rebuild here because I don't ever want to have to relive a fire coming up this hill again. And I've been in Spokane my entire 64 years because my little brother died in an accident when he was 6. And that's why I stayed close to my family.
It's so heartbreaking, Kate, to hear that kind of thinking coming from these residents. We saw so many people grappling with that very decision as we drove past these neighborhoods with row after row of home destroyed. Now, officials here from the National Guard is urging people to please be patient. It will take some time to return to their homes. There's a lot of work to be done here. As you mentioned, the fire is still at 0% containment. So there is that part of the work being done, but also clearing the roads, clearing debris for people to come back. That can take some time. Still 10,000 people without any kind of electricity around this area. It will be a difficult path to recovery.
And joining us right now to talk more about this is the Deputy Director for Spokane County Emergency Management, Chandra Fox. Thank you so much for jumping on this morning. Can you just give me your assessment of where things stand this morning?
Good morning, Kate. Happy to be with you today. So this morning, we're not quite 48 hours into this incident. And as you noted, we have multiple fires burning in several locations across the county. As emergency management, we're still very, very focused on public safety. We're still working through the evacuation process, making sure that we're getting folks out of the area as needed. We did have some expansion in evacuation areas yesterday evening. So we have a little bit of an expansion on the Autumn Lane fire. It's a challenging time.
Do you have reports of anyone injured or unaccounted for?
So we have, at this point, fortunately, we've had no injuries to any of our public safety responders. We have lost some equipment. We lost, one of our fire districts lost a brush truck in the fires, I believe it was Sunday that happened. As far as loss of life, we have no information on that right now. We do have a number of missing persons reports that law enforcement is following up on. But to this point right now, we have no information on any potential fatality.
Okay, but the deputy fire chief I was speaking through for the county, he was concerned that those missing persons reports were going to start coming in since this really blew through so quickly. It started and came through so quickly. The latest we have had is that there are more than 700 homes destroyed and nearly 65,000 families have been forced to evacuate across the Spokane area. Can you give me, is that the latest numbers you have?
That's pretty much what we know right now. Of what we refer to is 700 structures. So that does include some outbuildings and some shops in the rural areas, but that will be, unfortunately, the majority of that number will be primary homes.
The deputy fire chief I was speaking to also just said really plainly that it's not only devastating, but also just something that he's really just not seen before, and just how fast this has moved. Can you, Chandra, just give me your sense of that, your experience with this so far, what you're hearing from people on what is unfolding?
It really is. It's not normal for us. I mean, wildfire is our primary hazard for Spokane County. We have a very risk-prone environment. It's very typical for the entirety of the county to be under some level of drought condition during the summer months. But unfortunately, this year, because we had a very warm and uneventful winter, we did not have the snowpack that we normally have. And so at this point, we're here on the 3rd of August, and in terms of fuel load and fuel condition across the landscape, we're actually about 6 weeks ahead in terms of conditions. So where we're at today are conditions we normally see at the end of August or into September. So we're very concerned that not only are we under heightened risk, we're also potentially looking at fires well into October.
Yeah, not only what you're dealing with now, but what this portends if you're already here today, what the rest of this fire season is going to look like for you guys. Chandra, thank you very much. You guys have a lot of work ahead of you. I really appreciate you.
Potential is not good.
Not good, but hard at work at it. Thank you so much, Chandra Fox. I really appreciate it. Sarah.
All right, joining me now to talk more about this is Bobby Atwood. She lives in Spokane and she had to evacuate her home. Thank you so much for talking to me. Give me a sense when you knew that this was so dangerous that you had to run for your life, leaving some of your things behind.
Well, it all happened very quickly. When I got word of the fire, I was just up the road at the Walmart, and I had to rush home and started getting my animals gathered up in crates. And within 30 minutes, it had moved well over a mile, jumped the road, and came up from 2 angles. It came from behind my home, and it came from up the hill in front of my home, and then combined on my property. And it was actually at the edge of my property when I was trying to get my other dogs out. Sorry.
It's okay.
And then I just had to go out to the road and call my animals and try to get them out. At that point, 2 of the dogs ran out to the road, and one was found the next morning, and the other one was the one in the picture with me, my dog Luna. We got her some vet care, and she's with my older kids, but it was very devastating to sit there and watch it, and then it just kept moving so fastly as soon as those 2 fires kind of combined on my property. And yeah, it was very devastating to have to leave and have no real time to get anything figured out and out of there.
Give me some sense. I mean, did you end up losing some animals, and how are you and your family at this hour?
I did. My son and his wife and their 2 young children lived in a mobile home on my property, and I had the house. They lost their dog Evie, and I lost my dog Diamond, and my little daughter lost her kitty cat Bubbles, and I lost Henny Penny, my chicken. So yeah, it really sucks. I did find 2 of the bodies yesterday when I was allowed to go back into my home. It's hard, but I'm thankful that my children and my grandchildren all made it out of the property. And of all the things that were just destroyed on my property, my 4 fish in the middle of my burnt property were still alive in the hot tub. Their little homemade pond.
Wow. I'm so sorry to hear about the
very
losses
hard.
because, you know, animals to most of us are family too. I do want to ask you about what the status is of your home. We're looking at some of the pictures and whether or not you had homeowners insurance, you have something to try to help you rebuild, because this is utter devastation. I mean, there appears to be nothing left. What did you see and what will you do going forward?
Well, I did not have homeowners insurance. We're low income homesteaders, and I did not. I inherited this property about 6 years ago and had just in the last 2 years replaced all the power, replaced the well, and was, you know, building it up. Got my son and his wife the trailer and our mobile home, and I don't really know what we're going to do quite yet. We're just going to hope for the best. But yes, everything was destroyed at my house except for the children, my grandkids' play toys out in the yard, and there's a couple green grass spots in the fishies. And we made it out with our lives, and we're thankful for that.
Well, thank God that you did make it out with your family and your grandkids and kids. But the devastation, it's shown all over your video. And this morning, I just hope that you find some bit of hope today, because I know this is really, really terrible.